Hi, welcome to Clacca USC Home Group Bible Studies. My apologies for the technical difficulties with the live stream today. Essentially, we look at the sexuality and gender liberation hermeneutics of the Bible. Specifically, we look at specifically we look at behind, within, and front of the text. Today we are examining Genesis 18, and it's important to examine this particular passage first before we address Genesis 19, in order to hear what's going on behind the text. So, and I think the first thing to do is forget what you know. Forget about the prejudice, whatever prejudice assumptions you've learnt about this story, and pretend you've never read this book. I think that's the first thing to remember. Second thing I think that is important to remember is that this is a Dreamtime story, and so essentially it's not intended to be taken literally. I think that's the next thing to remember. The other thing I think that is also equally important to remember about this particular passage is, and I have no idea what's going on with the technology today, but essentially, so the next part that is important, as I was saying before, that the next part to remember about this particular passage is that not to take it literally. Remember, it's a mythological story, and while it highlights the origins and history of Israel, well, it's not a literal text. So essentially what we can learn is that the first half of Genesis 18 is primarily focused on the Annunciation story to Sarah, and is addressing the issue of hospitality, and is also addressing the issue, the question of whether or not Sarah will bear an heir. It's important to emphasize that the story and Sodom of Gomorrah are names of cities, and in no way, shape, or form there is nowhere in the text that indicates that Sodom and Gomorrah were the names of LGBTIQ A plus people in any part of this text, in any way, shape, or form. In fact, the story wasn't even about LGBTIQ people. The story was about two strangers who had come to the city and who needed to be educated on the question of consent and hospitality. So that's the issue that's being addressed here. Within the text, we can see very clearly that from 18:1-15, we can see Abraham's hospitality and virtue, and from 18:16-30, we can see Abraham's pleas to do everything. If there are anybody that is redeemable from this city, that God take into consideration of including them in fleeing the city. The divine announcement is that Sarah will bear a child, and this is a turning point in Sarah's life, in the fact that Sarah will bear a child to continue Abraham's legacy. in terms of the three strangers, the three angels, initially it's thought, in terms of the identity of the angels, initially Abraham thinks that they were men, in fact, but then realizes that the sexuality and gender of the angels cannot be specifically defined. Find. The important point of this message, the message of the text, this is not a text that in any way, shape, or form is about condemning LGBTI people or sexuality and gender, but it's a text. It's a text that is addressing the question of hospitality and is addressing the question of whether or not Sarah will bear an heir, continue to continue the legacy of Abraham. In no way, shape, or form, this text it's not the name of sexuality and gender. There's nothing. Yeah, there's certainly nothing from what I can see in any way, shape, or form in this text that is condemning LGBTIQ people. But essentially, what's important about this city is re-emphasizing the message that the real sin here of